Smell and memories. My research is based on the question, how do smells trigger memories? A simple answer to this begins with, when you smell a scent, there are hundreds of different odorants that make up that smell. Each of those different odorants has to connect to its own smell receptor, which will create a signal. To give you some context, when you smell the scent of coffee, there are over 800 different odorants, meaning that when you smell that coffee, you have 800 different smell receptors that are creating that one signal. Once that signal has been created with the smell receptor, it is sent to the olfactory bulb. In the olfactory bulb, the signal will be deeper analyzed and will be told to be sent further into the brain. Once it's further into the brain, it'll be sent to the piriform cortex and the amygdala. In the piriform cortex, that signal will be correlated to formerly known smells. That's how your brain knows, oh, I've known this smell before. In the amygdala, this will control the reactions and the emotions that your body has. This could be anger, happiness, shocked, excited, etc. Then, with those emotions, they will be sent to the frontal lobe and the hippocampus. In the hippocampus, this will create long-term memories, and in the frontal lobe, this will create short-term memories. The reason for sending the signal to the frontal lobe and the hippocampus is that so later on, when you're smelling new scents in the future, you can again connect it back to the piriform cortex and know those different smells. When comparing smell to other senses, smell has a greater effect on our brain activity. Stated by Sabrina Stierwalt from Scientific American, she said, researchers found greater brain activity with olfactory stimuli, like the smell of a rose, than the visual stimuli, like the sight of a rose. When I say more brain activity, this means that there are more connections in the brain that are helping remember past memories and also triggering emotions. With more memories and more emotions, this can lead to nostalgia, which is the wanting to go back into the past and not move on. I correlated and related this to My Mother's House by Rachel Gonsa, because the kids that left their abandoned house and went back and visited remembered all of those memories and had that very nostalgic feeling, which can all start from a simple smell. There are negatives to everything, so that means there are obviously negatives to smells and to smells. So primarily, there can be lots of trauma. So since smells have such a connection with emotions and memories, this can literally mean everything, even the negative. Trauma and PTSD might be recalled due to a smell. For example, a veteran from World War II might be used or have traumatic memories from the smell of diesel fuel. So if they're in an unthreatening or relaxing area and they get a whiff of diesel fuel, they can be triggered and that traumatic experience might be recalled. Due to this, there have been treatment options to cure this PTSD or trauma. This can include infusing that triggerable scent into the atmosphere, where they will then begin to feel the traumatic stress and that occurrence of just not wanting to smell that because of the past memories that they have with it. But then seconds after, they will infuse a calm scent, such as lavender, or a scent that is specific to them, which they know will calm down their brain. So then having that calm scent after the triggerable scent helps them realize that they're in a calm area and they're not threatened from things that happened in their trauma. Another negative is anosmia, which is the loss of smell. The loss of smell can have very challenging effects to our mental health. This can include depression, decreased remembrance of our memories, and loss of control and awareness in an environment. Also, other senses can be affected due to the loss of our smell, like our taste, meaning that you won't be able to taste food as well. Lastly, the loss of smell can be an early cause and an early symptom of Alzheimer's. Stated from the Alzheimer's Association, the majority of diagnosed Alzheimer's patients range from 75 to 84 years old. This can be considered part of the older generation. And as I mentioned before, the loss of smell can be a big cause and an early symptom of Alzheimer's. Since 75 to ages 84 are part of the older generation, this is relevant to people in the older generations with impaired smell have 2 times the chance of being diagnosed with Alzheimer's in the next 5 years of when that impairment began. This is further proving that the loss of smell is an early symptom and an early cause of Alzheimer's disease. In conclusion, the signals that are created in our brains pass through multiple processes. Also, the smell has great impact on our brain activity, meaning that there are more connections with emotions and memories than other senses. This can be either good or bad, and with the bad memories, we are able to have treatment for those. And lastly, the loss of smell is correlated to Alzheimer's disease. Thank you.
All right, a couple of questions. How did your research question evolve as you moved through the process?
So when I first began looking into the theme between the articles, I really wanted to do my research on all of the senses, but I realized that that would be so much information. So I really wanted to narrow it down to the sense of smell, which I thought was really important because me personally, I've had sometimes where I have smell a scent and it really triggers a memory from the past. So I thought that that was really interesting. Yeah, so at the beginning, I began researching all of the senses, like taste and like being in an environment and how that affects your memory. But in the end, I wanted to focus more on the smell.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. What additional questions emerged from your research and why are those important?
Kind of going off of what I just said, I had additional questions about the senses, like other senses that trigger that. Because I started researching that, but then I gave it up, I had more additional questions that I never really answered. So I thought that that could be really interesting, seeing how the taste is able to go through the different processes in your brain to connect it to past emotions or memories. So I thought that that was like an additional question that I had, just how the other senses also work in the brain other than just smell.
Okay, thank you. All right. I'll add a big clap to